How's it going? I'm not sure you guys have been watching my social media stories on Facebook and Blessing My Daughter, Facebook and Instagram. For the past few days, I think today's day 5, I have been doing like a cleanse, a fast. And I decided to do this because before these past 5 days, I found myself just a little bit more discouraged, kind of lacking motivation to do things, get things done, motivation and even like prayer and Bible study, and lacking in my healthy habits and kind of picking up some bad ones. So how I kind of recenter and refocus myself, recenter myself on God, is by denying myself the vices that probably got me there in the first place. So, for example, and no news to you, screen time, like TV and social media, like I said, kind of lacking in discipline to get the Bible studies and prayer times done, and then lacking in or slacking in maintenance of physical health. So what I'm decided to do was eliminate alcohol from my diet completely, as well as fasting from food for a portion of the day. So limiting screen time, only a small portion of TV a day, only no personal social media, only for Blessing My Daughter. Reflection journaling daily. I do a New Old Testament Bible study and then a New Testament Bible study. So I do 2 different ones throughout the day. And then I do this obviously knowing that did I say fasting? Yes, fasting from food for a portion of the day. So obviously I'm denying myself of these things, knowing that it will be a struggle. And, but with that struggle will come some amazing fruits and gifts from God. And we don't really know it until we do it. So a good example of this, which I'm reading Philippians right now, which is another amazing book. New Testament, so amazing to read. But Paul, so one of the biggest writers, speakers, and disciples of Christ, was put in prison for spreading the good news. And while he was behind bars, he found joy in his suffering, knowing that his work was still being done. And if it was actually being spread even more, because there were either people that were spreading the word more because he was put in jail, and then there were people doing it out of jealousy of him, trying to kind of like one up him. And he's like, I don't care how it gets done, I just want it done. And it's getting done in my suffering. So he didn't fix his eyes on, he fixed his eyes on God's promises and not on his circumstances, which a lot of what we do is fix our joy and our mood on our current circumstances, when they're not going to be perfect all the time. We will suffer, we are going to suffer, but a lot of the time in those times of suffering, we look our eyes to God's promises and he will show us fruits in those times. So God is glorified in our suffering. So I shared this on my story. So if you've heard this, I don't care. You should hear it again because it's so good. This has really been getting me through the past 5 days. I think weekend will be a whole different story, because weekends are just a little bit more loose in schedule, a little bit more fun is to be had. So you get, it's not as easy to stick with these things. But this quote I found in my book, Having a Merry Heart in a Martha World, which I finally finished. My strength is not found in how intensely I struggle, but in how completely I surrender. So if our struggle is real, which it is a lot of the time, that isn't a definition of your strength. The definition of your strength is how completely you surrender to God. And to me, that is so encouraging, being like, okay, I'm not super weak. It's okay. I can surrender. I can do that. Surrender meaning like understanding I am weak in this moment and allowing the Holy Spirit to fill in where you fall short. So again, I'll write that down and post it somewhere, but it's so good, and keep it in your back pocket because it literally has been stamped in my heart this whole week. I understand not to take everybody's suffering lightly. There are people going through some serious, real things. For example, Anne from Women's Wednesday, a mama of 4 young girls, has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which obviously there's no cure for. And that is not something to grin and bear. But she did, even in that terrible, very hard suffering, she has learned to not take anything for granted, which she sees everything on a whole nother level, and which we obviously could definitely learn something from her, because we get caught up in the very little things of life. So why fast? Why do it to yourself? Why would you deny yourself these things? You're really not going to know unless you do it. I've done it a couple times, starting in, I think, 2020, I think we started. I've done it with a couple of my family members and girls in my family. So, example, it's easy for me to scroll through social media for 20 minutes, but instead I can't do that, and I probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. So I'm going to play Uno with my daughter. We just played it last week, and it's so fun. Anyways, what's more fulfilling? And not only are you benefiting from quality time with your daughter, but she is. So another thing is, in my moments of hunger, having way more clarity because my body's not working on digesting. It's just getting the toxins out, and having this time for reflection, having serious thoughts written down, and having, just a lot of revelations in those moments about how things are going in your life, and messages that God's trying to tell you. So God's voice is louder when you eliminate these distractions that distance him. Obviously, the farther away he is, the less you can hear him. So that's all. It's just nice to kind of do these things and have a reset and refocus. If you want to stay up to date on how this is going for me, you don't have to. It's just fun. I had a lot of feedback saying that people wanted to see how it was going for me. If you want to stay up to date, I post stuff on my stories on Instagram and Facebook. But I encourage you to kind of look at yourself and see if there is anything that you should eliminate or add to your life to kind of recenter and refocus, because you are feeling that discouragement or lack of motivation and things like that, distance from God. Because even in the suffering, you find the joy knowing that God's glorified and that you are receiving some meaningful fruits rather than a quick fix like 20 minutes on social media, if that makes sense. So think about if something like this would benefit you, and I'll pray that it goes well and you see some amazing things happen. Okay? You guys, God bless. I'll see you next time. Bye.